Cheers to you, buddy.
Divinity, you're doing the cheers wrong.
Dude, she just ripped one. I am in love with her. God damn, Divinity.
She in love with me.
Damn, Divinity. Sorry.
She on my body.
You love you. Good morning, chat.
Good morning, chat.
Morning. Morning, Vicky.
Good morning.
So court started late today. They haven't actually started.
I haven't started yet. They start in 4 minutes, allegedly.
Mm-hmm. Well, she said she was going to open her court
At 9.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see.
So she should have no reason to lag. We already have it to share with you because we don't suck at life, allegedly. No, I'm not driving today. And not ever.
She was driving yesterday.
Am I the passenger?
You are.
Good morning, lady.
Good morning, lady. On the sky.
Words matter. Say grand rising.
Grand
Rising.
rising.
Forgot. I already said Grand Rising today, so.
Okay, a couple questions. Do you think dude's gonna testify?
No.
Jesus Lord, and you're supposed to be praying, and that's the kind of attitude you have?
Yes, he's going to testify.
No.
Just Vicky. Damn. If it doesn't work out, it's because of your shitty attitude.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
You said no, that means in your soul you're giving no energy.
You're giving no energy. No, he's not going to testify.
Oh, he's not getting any of my energy, baby.
Well, he needs your energy for the yes. Could you please play in this game with us?
Okay.
It's too late. I wish we wouldn't have told you about it.
Never mind. I think I'll override it anyway.
Different question. Okay, well, if you don't, then you're also out the game.
No, I'm saying I override her now.
So it's up to me then?
No, because of my words. So I'm just saying I might override her.
So you
now.
cancel each other out.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So if I say no,
Doesn't matter.
Your
I am.
conviction.
Yes, I am.
You did say it, and
I
correct.
am. Doesn't matter how
Okay,
much
we'll just
conviction
see
you
what
have.
happens.
I is the yes.
She called herself God, I think. Shit.
Mm-mm.
Okay, can I ask a different question?
Sure.
Okay, I got a different question. Does the judge have to pretend to deliberate?
Oh.
I think she has to pretend to think about it.
Oh, is it not called deliberating?
Does she have paperwork to fill in?
Does
she need to write a report?
Play with their papers.
Do you see what I'm saying? Is it slightly different when it's the judge? We don't know.
We should let's look it up. Okay, really fast. Well, whatever AI says will have to be the right answer. True. Okay. During a bench trial, how do we say this? In what city? In what state? Georgia. Okay.
Georgia.
During a bench trial in GA. How does I don't know what word I would use here because I got to know the word before I could use it. How does
the judge come to a verdict?
Yes, a verdict.
Reach
Perfect.
a verdict. Yeah.
During a bench trial in Georgia, how does the judge come to a verdict?
Reach a verdict. Yeah.
No, we're good here. I already got it.
Oh, hey, Sean.
Oh my gosh, it's Sean.
Morning, squad.
Sean made it. Morning, squad. We got people in the
Good morning. On this day in 1992, a massive fire erupted at Windsor Castle in Berkshire, England.
Berkshire.
I feel like I said it right. I wanted to say Berkshire.
Yeah, Berkshire.
How do you say it?
Berkshire.
Okay. Causing the destruction of 115 rooms. It took nearly 5 years to repair it.
I remember that.
I do too.
It
All
was
right,
awful.
the answer
The Queen was so devastated.
Yeah.
Okay. She has to weigh all the evidence and apply the law. Obviously. So that means she has to pretend she isn't paying attention, isn't thinking about it, just like she would ask the jury not to until
Yeah.
the defense lists. And then she's going to go back and be like, that was easy. And then come back out and say, guilty, buddy.
Okay.
So you
she
want to
doesn't-
explain to Sean what this is?
You can.
Oh, yeah, I'm not awake enough.
You brought it up. Okay, Sean.
You're better
This
at it.
is court. We're watching this
Hang on. Your mic has disappeared.
Can't hear you. What?
What?
Are you going to be mute this whole time?
She might need to be. The mic's
You
not
can do
working.
sign language?
Maybe. Speak.
Woof, woof. Well, you can hear us.
I can hear you. Why would you bark?
Oh, there you are. You came back.
Vicky.
No, literally, your microphone disappeared.
I heard you. I heard you, so I stopped talking, and I was like, "Wow, what the fuck?" Because I
I heard
mic
you space bar. I heard you press the space bar. That's why I said talk.
You heard me press the space bar? Maybe you heard me
Mhm.
grab my drink or something, because I don't feel like I was fucking around. Whatever I did,
heard
I'm sorry I
something.
did it. But I just unplugged it and plugged it back in, and it was working.
Okay.
Why were
We're
you
back.
barking, Vicky? Damn.
I want to make sure you can hear me.
I
I know you missed me.
Mm,
I do.
why bark though? I
Were
do.
you scolding her before I got here, though?
Pardon?
What?
Did she? You didn't. I don't feel like you were trying to stop her.
I
Beautifully.
didn't know what was coming out of her.
So
fucking
this
mouth.
is okay. Oh God. Yeah, okay. So
That's what I'm doing.
so this weirdo went to the house behind him and killed the two parents,
Yeah.
and then the little boy was there for
12 hours.
many hours
Yeah.
with
Playing with his parents' dead bodies.
pretty
Yeah.
much, yeah.
Yeah,
They
pretty
had-
much. That's exactly how you say it. Fast
That's
like
what
that too.
happened.
So it hits him in the
Okay.
face.
He was
All right.
sitting on his father, and he has blood on the back of his pajama bottoms because he was sitting on his parents.
Yeah, no, he was for legit.
Where was the dad
Had
found,
toys
by
all
the
over
way?
them.
Sitting.
Right
Also,
there.
basically,
Yeah.
she was lying in the sofa. She got shot. He stood up and got shot and fell down where he stood up, right next to the sofa.
Okay.
He fell down basically like he was just sitting there chilling, leaning up against the sofa.
So, like, do you think they didn't hear the glass break?
Well, I wonder if that's they heard the glass break instead of. So do you think that he broke the glass, saw the dad, and shot?
Basically,
Yeah, I
yes.
think he broke
and then
the
came
glass.
through
The dad
and then
stood
shot
up
the woman?
to find out what the fuck that was. I think this is my theory.
Okay.
Yeah. And then walked around and shot the woman. I think the dad gets up thinking like maybe their cat, because they have a cat and a dog, maybe something, because you don't immediately think like a cat burglar. You think a cat. And so I think that's what happens. He gets up, and that's why the mom stays sitting the whole time, because they're watching movies at like 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think he gets up, turns the corner, gets shot. When he sees the intruder, I think he turns to get his gun, which is clearly should have been.
He was going back he was turning back. That's why he got shot at the direction that he got shot at.
Because all his guns are upstairs in his closet.
Yeah.
He sees the bad guy. He's like, I better go arm myself, which isn't the second thing you're supposed to do. It's the first
Yeah.
thing. So yeah, but Sean, I need to tell you this. The house is possessed. It's been fucking with these kids for years. And
That's
so
the weird part.
yeah. These people have only lived in this house for, what was it, 73 days?
Yeah, 73
Yeah,
days.
just a couple of months.
Remember when you were saying 6'7" is a demonic number? I'm like, no, 72 is.
Well,
72 was actually, do they count the 18th as the day they lived there?
was that the day they got shot?
That was the day they found their bodies.
Well,
Sound
they got
awful
shot the
about
day
I'm
before.
assuming so.
They got shot on day 72. They were found on day 73.
Yeah,
Or was it day? I'm not sure actually.
Let's
My
believe
bad.
it that way, because I feel like that's the demonic. That is so much more demonic. The Christmas tree lights set this fool off. He breaks in through the window, shoots the mom and dad, and goes back to his college dorm and is like, "Oh, that's real sad."
Mm-hmm.
And then we're on trial now.
Yeah.
And it's a bench trial, which is our first one. We're live right now, so we're really not missing anything. Good. I just kind of think we're going to be behind. And the state rested yesterday. And
Yeah,
this will hopefully will take the stand. That's what we were arguing over this morning.
yeah, praying about really take the stand. Yes.
Okay, take the
I got
stand.
goosebumps.
boy.
I got goosebumps. Mm.
Is that a
See
good
what you
thing?
can pull out of you.
Yes.
He doesn't seem like the kind of person that would take the stand.
Oh,
Hey, we got movement.
he
Oh, we got
doesn't. He seems
we
like
got-
he's intelligent, but you know the demons that he was talking to in the back of the vehicle might have told him.
Don't
to,
you-
'cause
Don't you think he's medicated now that he's in prison? So you might be right. Maybe because he went to college on a full ride sports scholarship, which doesn't mean he's intelligent, but he also had a
no,
4.0
he was
and
doing
had
it's what he was studying. He was studying sciences, computer sciences, or some shit like that. He was really bright.
Yeah. He also had a high GPA. I'm just saying.
Mhm.
I was just trying to get the facts straight on the record that he
Oh, that's
went on a sports
brilliant.
scholarship.
Nate
What?
came through surgery okay, but no further word yet.
Oh, sweet. Hold on. Let's look at that. Nate, the lawyer. Let me go to somebody who would be awake and maybe tweeting. He's not married,
Who?
Nate, or is he?
I'm not sure if he's married, but I know he's got his. I knew that he was with his the
Kids.
mother of his kids.
Oh, I was just curious if like they would use his here, we'll go to Uncivil. His Twitter and give us an update. Oh fuck, that scared me. He should okay, so I'm going to Uncivil's fucking sorry, excuse my French. I went to Uncivil's fucking thing to find an update, and he's got pinned the Charlie Kirk bullshit. So it said the first thing I saw was R.I.P.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
Update
I
on
see.
Nate. Surgery was completed without complications about 30 minutes ago. Nate is still in recovery and I cannot see him today. Past visiting hours. His wife, oh, there goes. He's got a wife, is there, however, and can see him in 1 or 2 hours. More details to follow.
Tomorrow. So we wait.
10 hours.
10 hours ago was 10 p.m. last night. Is that right? I'm not great at the math. 12 hours ago would it be 6 p.m., so 8. Okay. Don't quote me on any of that.
I'm not even going to embarrass myself on YouTube today. I'm trying to do math.
And the last time we talked in person, we were homies. So I saw that the other day. I was like, this motherfucker. He still loved me.
The preemptive blockade. What are you going to do?
You gotta do what you gotta do. The cameraman is fucking drunk. Bro, wake up.
What is
Wake all the way up.
it doing?
The gimbal is Anybody, don't just if you've got motion problems, look away.
All right. Yeah, let's do this. Yeah. Woo.
All right. Does that mean you just got high or drunk or whatever you do first thing in the morning?
We ready.
I've got my caffeine. Dude, do you know what? I almost went to this website with you guys the other day. I was looking at it during court.
Mhm.
Caffeine will fucking kill you. Easy, it seems.
Caffeine?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Don't
that.
drink the Rockstar and go work out. No energy drinks before you work
I know,
out.
but the thing is
Not
that
medical
pre-workout
advice,
has probably as much as, if not more, caffeine in than a energy drink, and that is to go and work out in the gym. Just drink plenty of water. Make sure you drink lots of water.
I mean, I was like, that sounds very judgy.
I mean,
Just in case you are drinking, I'm glad I did say it. You don't know. I don't know what your life is about. What if you had a hard night and you're just still drinking? You know, this one guy's dad got his head cut off by his girlfriend, wife, sister-in-law, brother lady, and he drank for like days straight. So I don't know what's going on in your world, Sean. Show up here more often and I'll know.
Yeah.
Oh,
You'll see what you can get away with. Or not.
what else? Oh, you know what I was thinking? We got to go check on the internet road trip real fast. I thought about this yesterday after my sister show. I was like, fuck, I should have went to check.
Oh, how did that go?
Oh, it was good.
Yes. Wait a minute. I see Eagle, but it still says we're in Canada. What the fuck over?
Yeah, I think they got rid of that because more people stick around because
When
they
there's-
realize that more people look at the thing than the.
I did it.
Oh, it's so hard. It's upside down.
Yeah, it's in danger. We're in Canada.
Yeah. This is definitely like an upside down flag.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try to go off-roading.
Oh,
Okay. What was I saying? Oh, my sister's show. It was good. She's really funny, I think.
You
I
both
asked
are.
her, the first thing she was saying was, we talked about me, I think. And I was like, well, what song? And she
Oh,
said, Hips and Flag.
the defendants entering court.
And then she
Oh,
said,
you've got it on court CV. Never mind.
You have it on long.
Yeah.
what do you think the lag? Oh, there it goes. Can you hear it?
Good morning, everyone. Please be seated. You all ready? If you need some food. Yeah, we're good. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, I hope you're okay, Squab.
He was probably tired. His issue is old.
I wasn't gonna call him out.
Good morning, everyone. I am Judge Sonia Brown. I am the presiding judge for this bench trial, the state of Georgia versus Matthew Scotland.
Did you see that closed caption? Good morning. Is that what she said?
As 229-00922.
It's too
We are
loud.
present here in the open courtroom. Present in the court, the clerk, the court reporter, Mr. Lanz is represented by Attorney Judy Berry.
No power
And the
shift.
state is represented by Assistant Attorneys Green and Workers. Good morning, everyone. Great. So, a couple of procedural matters I do have, which I'd like to give you all copies of the verdict form. So, Madam Clerk, if you could hand that to both the state and the defense so they can review that for the court.
I think they need to apply some DEI to this fucking courtroom. Look at all these black chicks that work here. That's ridiculous. Where are the old white
You'll have a chance
males?
to review, but I just want to give you
Right
all
there.
the opportunity to review.
He doesn't work here all the time.
Bust them in.
He's
You asked where he was.
Maybe before we
Touche.
adjourn for the day,
What?
the state did rest
Morning, Sister
their
Sue.
case, and so Mr. Berry, I will allow the defense to proceed.
Thank you, Judge. I have spoken to Matthew about whether he wishes to testify. His wish is not to testify.
Yes.
coward.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Berry. There are a few questions that I would like to ask Mr. Lanz to inquire about his decision on whether he wants to testify or not. And so, Mr. Lanz, if you raise your right hand for the court, please, sir. Do you swear to affirm that the testimony you will give to this?
Oh,
Oh, god damn.
The whole truth.
those nails.
I
Dear
want to
Lord.
grow up. First the moles and now the nails. He's going to a woman's prison. This faggot's not going to testify. They're not gonna say. He's not putting on a case. I bet he doesn't even do a closing argument. He's going to be like, whatever y'all think. and
You
shuffle
don't
back.
give him the death. That's all he's going to stand up there and say. Your Honor, don't give him the death.
Yeah. No, give him the death, please.
And nothing but the truth, so help you God.
His hair looks
comment.
no
Okay,
fucking
will you
comment.
write it down for me? Nothing but the truth, so help you God.
No comment.
Okay,
You don't
will
believe
write
in
it down
God.
for me? Mr. Lanz, do you understand that you have the right to testify, and if you want to testify, that no one can prevent you from doing so?
No comment.
Do you understand that no one can make or compel you to testify? That is, do you understand that you have a right to not testify if you do not want to?
Yeah, he realized that was a comment. He's trying to not
No
comment.
comment.
Do you understand that
Yeah.
you and not your lawyer must personally decide whether you will testify or not?
No comment.
Do you understand that if you do not testify, then upon your request, the court will not use your decision against you?
No comment.
Do you understand that if you choose to testify, you will be examined by your counsel and cross-examined by the assistant district attorney?
No comment.
Do you personally want to testify or not?
No comment.
Attorney Barry, do you stand in your place as an officer of this court, as well as Mr. Lanz's representative, that you have spoken to Mr. Lanz, that you have presented
No
him
comment.
with the option of whether or not he has the right, or he has the right to testify or not, and all of the issues or concerns with whether he does or does not testify, and also informed him that if he chooses to not testify, then the court will not hold that against him. But if he were to choose to testify, then he would be examined by you as well as the assistant district attorney. Have you spoken with Mr. Lanz and discussed all of this? Right, thank you. Are there any witnesses that the defendants wishes to call?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. Can I have the attorney's approach?
No witnesses?
That's probably the first time they've heard his voice, maybe, so they're trying to process.
Maybe.
We're back to live. Maybe they wanted him to say something, like explain yourself. I probably would. What do you think?
I'd want to hear from something. I don't know. But
All right, before we move into closing arguments, are
Oh,
there
he
any other issues or concerns that we need to deal with?
Just for the record, I think that we would use the direct
All right, having heard the evidence has been presented here, the court is going to now direct a verdict if there is enough evidence, at least for the court to consider and the judgment in each of the counts that have been presented for the court.
I believe this is unnecessary.
Okay, so state, or do you intend to do an open and close, or are you going to waive openings as far as the closing arguments are concerned?
Yes, Your Honor, we will waive the opening and just reserve the closing.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This poor old dude.
It's over for him. He's stoked. He's done so after today.
I feel sorry for him.
Your Honor, I'm not going to
It's probably court
belabor
reported.
too much the evidence, but there are some concerns that the defense has. And I'd like to go over those with the court. And I think it's important to let the court know in the statements that Scott and Teresa Lanz made and the telephone calls that the state through the Celebrate found. I think it's important to know that Mr. Lanz, Scott Lanz, was residing in Washington because he worked there. I think that was brought out. And he had called his son the night before. He called Matthew. Matthew indicated that he would be coming home. He did not come home, according to Teresa Lanz. And because of the fact that he didn't come home, like her husband told him that, told her that he might, she
Sorry, I'm having a
became,
little difficulty hearing you, Mr. Bailey.
I'm sorry. what
I'm
did I
having a
do?
little difficulty hearing you.
I'll move this over.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Because of the fact that Matthew did not arrive, she became concerned again calling. And because of the fact that he did not respond, she and her daughter both began to call and were not able to get a hold of Matthew. I wanted to make it clear that there was nothing said concerning the fact that she believed that he had committed these crimes. She went there because of the fact that she felt that she needed to do a safety check on him. She hadn't been able to get a hold of her. So I wanted to make that clear in the beginning. We'll start with the crime scene. When the officers came to the crime scene, the first thing that they noticed, of course, after Mr. Hicks, the father, had noticed the back window being broken out. The officer came, and I remember seeing on the video that he took his baton and broke out a good bit of the window. There was a lot of jagged pieces still in the window. I questioned him about the area that he would have to climb through. He said, well, I have on a jacket, so I felt it would not be unsafe to try to get him without knocking over the glass. I think that becomes important because you can see the size of Matthew. He would have had to step over that area and not be cut from the glass. And tend to knock out any more glass, so it would have been difficult to get in that window without either cutting yourself without breaking some more of the window out. When they got into the residence, the items that were collected were the 3 shell casings. The officers looked for footprints, fingerprints, all manner of trace evidence. None of the trace evidence was found. They didn't find anything that would tie Matthew to being inside that house. As a matter of fact, the report heard the shell casings were tested, and there was no DNA of Matthew found on the shell casings. So nothing that was found at the scene would tie Matthew to the interior of that scene. As a matter of fact, the only DNA that came off the shells was the child, Jacob's, which we could see that most of those shell casings were probably moved around by him.
Baby did it.
We saw in the bathroom that the toilet seat was up, there was some toilet paper on the floor, and it appeared to have other items there. And I asked the officer, is it possible that he could have flushed those shells down the toilet? The officer indicated that that might be possible. Shell casings were never found in Athens or any other place. So as far as count 13, I don't think the state would carry the burden on proving that those shell casings were taken from the home. The next area of concern, of course, is the firearm. It does have Matthew's DNA on it. It's a little confusing, the manner in which the gun came to be in the possession of the father. He indicated to the police that the clip for that gun and the gun itself were in the coat pocket, and they did retrieve it, but there was no testimony that I can remember whether there was a clip inside the gun at the time that it was collected. So I'm not sure whether there was a clip ever found in the gun or not, or whether that clip actually fit into the gun. That becomes important because the state wants to try to tie the clip that they found in Athens that had I think 5 shells missing. Of course, Matthew in his statement indicated that he had been to the range and fired the gun, but they did not pinpoint exactly when that would have been, or where he had gone to the range. And they had been able to find out as they asked that information whether in fact he had or not. The bullets were the SIG 9mm. When I asked the officer, he said those were very common, 49mm. The next item that we're concerned about is Detective Smith's testimony about the headlight signatures. He indicated this V signature that he saw. Questioning about the signature, he did not know what kind of vehicle that Matthew Lanz had. So I don't know what kind it was. I was only concerned with whether that particular vehicle fit what I saw on the road. So he was not able to testify that all 2008 Lexus would have that same V signature, or whether there's any other vehicles that might have that V signature. Not just that particular, it's not like a fingerprint. It's a V signature from the headlights. We don't know how many other cars there may be that has that particular type of V. The other area that Detective Smith talked about was the floodlights that he saw coming on and going off. And as he testified, at 9:31, the back floodlights came on. They came on again at 9:55, and again at 10:08. We found through the Celebrex that Ms. Hicks had been on her phone at 9:59, which is about 4 minutes after the back floodlights had come on. We don't know much about those back floodlights because nobody tested to see how long they would stay on or what range they had when they did come on, which is very important because if in fact they are saying that the person went in at 10:08, we don't have anybody coming out after that. If they went in to the house at 9:55, they would have had to have been in the house for 4 minutes in order for the shift to use the telephone. So that wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense. So there's the question, did somebody go into the house earlier in the day and was laying in wait for them to get into the house and get comfortable before they made their move? So it's an interesting question, especially the fact that you don't see any corresponding exit floodlights, because any movement either in or out should show. It's interesting also that the car that they're indicating was Matthew's passed by a neighbor down the street at 10:11:32, which is about 1.5 minutes from the 10:08 going into the home, which meant that a person would have to get in, knock the window out, step over a gate, which the gate was up, apparently. You'll see that the gate is pushed from the living room back rather than being pushed from where the person came in forward to be able to get to where the shots were fired. So how would a person accomplish that? Get back out of the house, get to the car in a minute and a half. It's pretty difficult to be able to do that. We know that there was a lot of glass that was knocked out. We asked about the clothing that Matthew had on. There was no glass shards found in any of his clothing. There was no glass shards found in his vehicle. We don't know whether the shoes that he was wearing, or what he was wearing supposedly the night before. We do know that he had to walk a mile or so, maybe two, to get to the home in Sandy Springs. He was ultimately arrested. We don't know whether he picked up any glass shards on that trip from where he left his car. And we don't know whether these glass shards would match with the glass, double pane glass that was apparently there at the Hicks home. So there was no comparison of the glass shards to see whether or not they might be similar or the same, or whether it was pieces of glass that came out of a car window on the side of the road. So we don't have any other glass shards that had been found. And the state made a point to indicate that he had put his phone on airplane mode to avoid people knowing where he was. That wasn't done until 10:15. Doesn't make much sense if you don't want people to know where you're going, then why not put it on airplane mode when he was going there rather than when he was leaving? Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. What's concerning too is that if you break one of those panes of glass out, obviously, I asked the officers who made a lot of noise. They also had a dog that, of course, heard in the video that went crazy when the officer came in. With the knocking out of the glass and the dog barking and the light coming on, apparently Mr. Hicks didn't have enough time to stand up, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense either, which might be something to consider, whether somebody could have come into the home at an earlier time and laid in wait.
That's a good point.
We can simply ask the court to look at
ADT
all the
security
evidence in
system
the
would have
case.
picked it up.
I know the court will.
No, they probably had the inside
Will
like
evaluate
emotion.
that evidence and
Oh.
testimony, and will render a verdict that speaks the truth. That's all that we can ask. Thank you, Judge.
I mean, that's
Thank you,
reasonable.
Mary. Okay, Green, you may proceed with the state's closing arguments.
She didn't wear her power suit, so that's worrisome.
She didn't have to impress a jury.
It's a mental thing.
She good, that's probably her power suit. That color's weird as hell.
Red is red is what's necessary. Well, if she loses this, we'll know why. Shh. She should have got an iPad. That gaming dell is shit.
Most Americans these days have iPhones. And one of the reasons that iPhones are so popular is because it has the feature of memories. This is what the memories may have popped up looking like on Amber's phone back in October of 2021. But November 18th of 2021, Tuesday of this past week, 4 years to the day, this is what those memories would look like.
Hey, baby, how are you? Oh, okay, come here. Come here. Come here. Hey, how are you? Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. I will play with this kid real quick. Yeah, I'll play sure. Come here. Come here.
That was the Hicks's home sweet home. The home that they moved into on September 5th, 2021, believing that they were moving into their dream home. This defendant on November 17th of 2021 shattered those dreams and shattered little Jacob's world forever. This is State of Georgia versus Matthew Lanz. Your Honor, we're here before you with 13 counts of this indictment, each of which we will go through. The defendant was charged with malice murder, felony murder, home invasion, aggravated assault, possession of firearm during commission of a felony, cruelty to children in the second degree, and tampering with evidence. But this case is best told by looking at the timeline. So I want to go back through that timeline. Starting on November 17th of 2021. We started this trial on November 17th of 2025, 4 years later. If you go back in time, this is what happened on November 17th of 2021. 7:09 p.m., Justin, Amber, and Jacob arrived home. You remember the testimony that Amber had to send her car to a mechanic shop, that Justin picked Amber up and that Jacob was with them. At 7:09 p.m., this is the last known footage of the three of them alive together.
Squab's comment though.
Maybe it's her lucky skirt.
Unknown to Amber and Justin, their killer was en route. By 5:57 p.m., we know the defendant was driving from Athens to the Marietta area or Akron. We know that because on his phone, there's a 1 minute and 58-second phone call with his father. And if you remember, his father stated to law enforcement that the defendant called him, was at a gas station heading home on November 17th, 2021. At 9:20 p.m., Lanz drives down Verbena in his 2008 Lexus GS and enters his driveway. Here's a video clip showing as his car drives down the street. We know that's his vehicle because of the headlight comparison or the headlight signature. He then pulls down Verbena and enters his driveway, which is also located on Verbena. Now it's very difficult to see in that region, but you'll see some flashing light ever so subtly in that area that's circled in yellow. And that's when his car is pulling into his driveway. And again, we know this because there was two SUVs that followed behind that proceed and pass that camera at 50/50 Verbena. We then know at between 9:31 p.m. and 9:32 p.m., Lanz is walking around the rear and side of the Hicks's residence. We can see that the side floodlights illuminate And then we can see the infrared camera being illuminated as well as he gets close to that side door. We know at 9:32 p.m. he then proceeds back towards his residence. This is the one camera view that's slightly better, where you actually can see him walking along the roadway back in the direction of his family's home.
She's tripping.
I don't see anything.
I don't see shit.
Did they
Between
show?
9:43 and
Like clear?
9:44 p.m., you can again see an individual walking towards the Lanz's property. Now here it's much more difficult to see because of that reflection, but you'll see
That
movement
was
proceed well about this area here, at which point he seems to return back towards his residence.
Did you guys see him?
No.
No.
Okay.
And then at 9:55 p.m., Lanz triggers the side lights again, this time to carry out these executions.
Oh, the lights going off. I see. Okay.
That don't mean it's him.
You can see movement and shadows reflecting from that light.
Really? Maybe you can see it better in court.
The floodlights have gone off by 9:59 p.m., indicating that Lanz is now lying in wait in this porch area. But we know that Amber's still alive. We know that at 9:59 and 37 seconds, she loves the comment by her friend, LOL IKY, done craving it. And she loves the next comment at 9:59 and 40 seconds. Olive Garden it is. At 10:10 p.m., we know that these executions are done. Sometime in that 10-minute window, Lanz executes Amber and Justin, who are completely unaware and defenseless, on their couch in their locked and secured home that they have just purchased 73 days prior. And then he leaves. Just like that. The floodlights come on. He walks towards his residence. And it's over. All with little Jacob alone in his crib. Lanz's vehicle is then captured at 10:11 p.m. As he leaves Al Delphinium on the Bells Ferry, and then he drives all the way back to town. An almost 2-hour drive. And during that time, he puts his phone in airplane mode. It is not a coincidence that his phone is in airplane mode in approximately the same amount of time it would have taken for him to get back to his apartment now. He puts his phone in airplane mode at 10:16 p.m. and he takes it off of airplane mode at 12:43 a.m. November 18th of 2021, the day after the murder. 9:34 a.m. This is the call that's made.
I want to confirm that you guys have called them on their phones, they didn't answer.
We tried to call me multiple times now. My brother's phone rings a few times that we're going to voicemail. My sister-in-law's phone immediately goes to voicemail. According to my mother, they've been on social media for about 12 hours now.
That call was placed by Ashley Hicks. had gone to the residence because it was extremely unusual for Amber to just not show up to work. So unusual that her employer had already called both her father and her father-in-law. Within 10 minutes, police arrive on scene at 9:43 a.m. And of course, immediately upon arriving to the scene, they make entry and they find that Amber and Justin have been executed and they're lying in their blood on the couch. Within 1 hour and 40 minutes of police's initial arrival on scene, before police have even made entry into the home, before police have even confirmed that Amber and Justin are deceased, Scott and Teresa are calling their son. So that 1 hour and 40-minute period is really much shorter because Scott and Teresa wouldn't have known what the police knew immediately, and they certainly wouldn't have known before police ever even made entry into the home or laid eyes on Amber and Justin. So that 1 hour and 40 minutes is probably closer to an hour, perhaps less. And they're immediately calling their son because they know he did it before any details or any facts had been released to the public. That is their first thought. The neighbors are done, our son must have done it. They knew what happened in this case before any law enforcement ever knew they existed. Teresa Lanz is so concerned that she drives all the way to Athens to lay eyes on her son and confront him about these murders. Keep in mind, it takes almost 2 hours to get to Athens. That first phone call that they make to him is 11:24 a.m. and within 30 to 45 minutes of that first call, Teresa's already getting in her car. Whatever she had planned for the day, whatever she had going on was not as important as laying eyes on her child because she knew as a mother, having motherly instinct, that her son committed these murders. She arrives in Athens at 2:14 p.m. We know this because she tells law enforcement she calls when she gets there. She's banging on the door so hard that this defendant thinks that she might actually break the lock off the door or the chain off the door because she's that upset and that concerned. Teresa goes in the home and she finds the murder weapon. Now, of course, she doesn't know that's the murder weapon initially, but she sees the gun. She sees it by his bedside table on the floor. She described that there was 2 magazines. She said one was in it, well, not really all the way, but it was hanging out of it, and the other one was next to it. That is how the gun was initially found. Next to his bedside table with 2 magazines, one of which was in the gun. And we know from the evidence in this case that the one in the gun would have been the one with only 12 bullets. Ultimately, even though the defendant doesn't want to relinquish his firearm to his family, he does, once his dad gets there. His dad that had been in DC and traveled all the way home and got picked up by his daughter and drove straight from the airport all the way to Athens to be a part of this conversation. His father took the gun but left behind the magazines, which the defendant then tells law enforcement are inside his desk drawer. November 19th of 2021, 32 hours after these murders, at about 7 a.m., perhaps a little bit earlier, he travels back to Atlanta again. He travels back to Atlanta again. This time, he ditches his car around 5665 New Northside Drive, which is in Sandy Springs. And you can see from the map there that this is just off the highway. I mean, this is just coming off the ramp from 285. Now, ultimately, this dispatch about the burglary comes in at 8:45 a.m. So we know that whenever he leaves the car, it's a little bit earlier than this, which is why it was probably a little bit earlier when he left residence, probably sometime in the 6 o'clock hour. We also know from when the search warrant was executed on his vehicle that there wasn't really any gas in the car at all. In all likelihood, his car ran out of gas. So was this where he was planning to go? We don't know. Or was it that he was taking 285 from 316 to 85 to 285 to 75 to get back to his residence? Or maybe go look at what's going on at the Hicks's residence. We don't know. But certainly this is on the way back towards Ackworth. But he ran out of gas. So he leaves his car, he cuts through the woods, and he ends up in someone else's home at 90 Cameron Glen Drive in Sandy Springs. And that's when the dispatch call was made for Sandy Springs officers to respond, around 8:45 in the morning. By 6 p.m., with the assistance of Sandy Springs, the dominoes then fall into place. The pieces are then put together, and that is when everyone learns that Matthew Lanz was responsible for these two murders. Now, there's two checklists that I always like to go through in criminal cases, because it really boils down to two things. Number one, were these crimes committed? And number two, did the defendant do it? Those are the two things we're really looking at. And of course, Your Honor knows better than anyone that the state has to prove each element of each offense beyond a reasonable doubt, and we have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this defendant was the one who committed those crimes. So I want to start with the checklist of the crimes themselves, starting with malice murder. Of course, Your Honor knows that the state must prove the defendant caused the death of another person unlawfully and with malice aforethought. Malice aforethought is simply the unlawful intent to kill. So how have we proven malice in this case? How has the state proven that this defendant had an unlawful intent to kill Amber and Justin Hicks? Of course, we can look at both a deliberate intention to unlawfully take the lives of another, and we can look where there's no significant provocation and all of the circumstances show an abandoned and malignant heart. Your Honor, this is so malicious that we have both types of things. This is implied malice and this is express malice all day long. Executing a couple who is watching TV in the comfort and safety of their own home is as malicious as it gets. If this here isn't malice, then malice doesn't exist. If that is not malice, malice does not exist. Now, while premeditation is not required, we certainly have it here. Lanz arrived at 9:20 p.m. and he executed Amber and Justin at 10 o'clock. 40 minutes thinking, contemplating, stalking. Count one. Did unlawfully with malice aforethought cause the death of Timothy Hicks, a human being, by shooting Timothy Hicks with a firearm? And count two, did unlawfully with malice aforethought cause the death of Amber Hicks, a human being, by shooting Amber Hicks with a firearm? The malice is there, Your Honor. This is the timeline showing the malice. He arrives at 9:20 p.m. Between 9:31 and 9:32 p.m., he is creeping around the Hicks's back and side yard. Between 9:43 and 9:44, he is again creeping around the Hicks's residence. At 9:55, he makes entry into their backyard and proceeds to sit there and watch at those Christmas lights, waiting until the time was right in his mind to break the window and immediately execute them so fast that they didn't even have time to respond. By 10:10, he's leaving the Hicks's residence. 10:11, he heads back to Athens. And 10:16 to 12:43, he has his phone in airplane mode. This is proof of malice. He had so much time to think about what he was going to do, and he still did it. You had 3 9mm casings recovered on scene and 2 projectiles. You have 5 total gunshot wounds. These gunshot wounds are consistent with the 2 of them sitting there on the couch, again in the comfort of their own home, watching TV. And when Justin heard that window smash, he got up and started peering around to see who was breaking into his home. And as he's peering around and looking, he gets shot here in his side, and it comes out his stomach and ultimately hits the ground. He then starts coiling as Matthew Lanz is continuing to approach on him. He gets shot in the right arm and then gets shot in the back of the head right here and crumbles because he would have never moved again. He got up to see what was going on, but he didn't even have a chance. Guns all in their home to defend his baby and to defend his wife, and he didn't even get a chance. And Amber, she certainly didn't get a chance. She still has the blanket tucked under her foot. You heard the doctor testify that it was consistent with her being crouched like this. The gunshot goes into her forearm, out of her forearm, into her thigh, out of her thigh, and stops at her stomach. And in order to get that headshot, where it has an angle, it has a clear angle, she's probably like this, closing her eyes, not wanting to look. And he just executes her. He shoots both of them in the head. The two projectiles that were found in Justin's body. One from his head, where he had his head turned because he had started to coil, and it stops at the other side of his head. And then one from his chest, because the gunshot wound that went in his right shoulder stopped from the left side of his chest. You have a projectile in Amber's neck from the shot that went in here and stopped at her neck. He talks about he almost got brainstemmed. Well, he brainstemmed Amber. And I think he wished it worked on him. 5 total projectiles were recovered. We know there were 5 gunshots. He executed them. I mean, he shot them both in their heads in the comfort of their home. And then he kept the gun, he kept the magazine, he kept the rounds, and he just put it in his desk drawer. And was just going to go about his time. He stalked, he waited, he hunted, he drove almost 4 hours total to execute 2 innocent human beings, a mother and a father. That is malice murder. And the state has proven malice murder beyond reasonable doubt. For felony murder, the state must prove that the defendant caused the death of another person by committing a felony. Of course, the underlying felony charges here are home invasion and aggravated assault. For home invasion, as Your Honor knows, the state has to prove the defendant without authority and with the intent to commit a forcible felony therein. Of course, here we're talking about aggravated assault. And while in the possession of a deadly weapon or a firearm, he enters the dwelling house of another while it's occupied by any persons with authority to be present therein. The language of the indictment reads, did unlawfully without authority and with intent to commit the forcible felonies therein, to wit, murder and aggravated assault, while in possession of a firearm, to wit, a handgun, a deadly weapon, enter the dwelling house of another, to wit, the Hicks residence located at 5059 Verbena Drive, Acworth, Georgia, while it was occupied by Timothy Justin Hicks, Amber Hicks, and Jacob Hicks, persons with authority to be present therein. And then the corresponding felony murder count reads, while in the commission of a felony, to wit, home invasion as set forth in count 7 of this indictment, did cause the death of Timothy Hicks, a human being, irrespective of malice. In count 4, while in the commission of a felony, to wit, home invasion as set forth in count 7 of this indictment, did cause the death of Amber Hicks, a human being, irrespective of malice. Your Honor, this is a home invasion. There was forced entry into this home. It was without authority. The defendant was armed with a firearm. We know this because he had a firearm. He killed Justin and Amber with a firearm. He had the intent to commit these forcible felonies of aggravated assault and malice murder because he sat there and thought about it over and over and over until he felt like the time was right. That's exactly what he set out to do. It is exactly what he did do, and then he fled. the state has proven felony murder and home invasion. For aggravated assault, the state must prove that the defendant assaulted another person with a deadly weapon. This defendant shot Amber and Justin multiple times using his Zev Technologies OZ9 firearm. That's an aggravated assault. Count 8 reads did make an assault upon the person of Timothy Hicks with a firearm or deadly weapon to a handgun. Count 5 is the corresponding felony murder count while in the commission of a felony, to wit aggravated assault as set forth in count 8 of this indictment, did cause the death of Timothy Hicks, a human being irrespective of malice. Count 9 is the aggravated assault count with respect to Amber Hicks, did make an assault upon the person of Amber Hicks with a firearm or deadly weapon to a handgun. And the corresponding felony murder count while in the commission of a felony, to wit aggravated assault as set forth in count 9 of this indictment, did cause the death of Amber Hicks, a human being irrespective of malice. Here is the evidence of the aggravated assault and felony murder. It was his Zev OZ9 firearm, 5 rounds fired into Justin and Amber's body. We have 9 total holes within their bodies. 9 total holes, 5 gunshots, but 9 total holes that this defendant put into their bodies. We've proven aggravated assault and felony murder. Possession of firearm during commission of a felony, as your honor knows, the state has to prove the person has honor within arm's reach of his person of firearm during the commission of any crime against or involving the person of another, which is a felony. The way it's charged here, we have murder, aggravated assault, and cruelty to children in the second degree, which are felony crimes. For count 10, did unlawfully have on and within arm's reach of his person a firearm, to wit, a handgun during the commission of murder, home invasion, and aggravated assault, felony crimes involving the person of Timothy Hicks. Count 11, did unlawfully have on and within arm's reach of his person a firearm, to wit, a handgun during the crimes of murder, home invasion, and aggravated assault, felony crimes involving the person of Amber Hicks. Your Honor, you have the gun in front of you. This is the gun that took the lives of Justin and Amber Hicks. It's his gun. He possessed it. He brought it into their home. He is guilty of possession of firearm during commission of a felony. Cruelty to children in the second degree. The state must prove that the defendant caused cruel or excessive mental or physical pain to a child under 18 through criminal negligence. Criminal negligence is an act which shows a willful, wanton, or reckless disregard for the safety of others who might reasonably be expected to be injured by the act. Executing a mother and father in a home that is filled with baby toys, baby gates, baby locks, a baby monitor right next to his mother's hand, and you sit there and you shoot that mother in the head, absolutely shows a willful, wanton, or reckless disregard for the safety of others who might reasonably be expected to be injured by the act. Any human being knows that slaughtering 2 parents in a home with a child creates a reckless disregard for the safety of that child. Your Honor, that is common sense. The way the indictment reads on count 12 is that this defendant did, with criminal negligence, cause Jacob Hicks, a child under the age of 18 years, cruel and excessive physical and mental pain by leaving Jacob Hicks's deceased parents inside the home of said child, resulting in the 2-year-old child being alone and unsupervised for approximately 12 hours, during which Jacob Hicks was unable to feed himself, unable to change his diaper, or get the attention of his parents, causing him excessive physical and mental pain. Your Honor, Jacob cuddled with his dead parents. He cuddled with his dead parents. They were dead in his house. He came down the stairs and he crawled in their laps. We know this because there is blood all over his little Mickey Mouse pajamas. It is on the front, it is on the back, it is under the arms of his shirt. It is impossible to get that amount of blood and in those locations without having cuddled and crawled on his parents, desperately trying to get his parents to acknowledge him, not understanding why they wouldn't. He brought his parents toys, trying to get their attention, putting a plane on his daddy's lap. A plane that could not have been there until Jacob came downstairs. Bringing his mom a ball, bringing her a monster truck, doing everything he could to get them to wake up and pay attention. Because in a child's eyes, in a 2-year-old's eyes, the world is all about them. And when they wake up in the morning, it's all about them. Let's start the day. The first place any child goes when they wake up is to their mom and dad. That's what Jacob did. And when he couldn't get their attention, he started bringing them toys. He played with the very bullet that robbed him of his mother, that robbed him of his father. Because there is no way that that projectile would have landed there but for Jacob picking it up. How do we know this? We know this because we have 5 projectiles. 3 of them were recovered at the medical examiner's office. So 2 of them were left on scene. One of them, if you recall, was right in between Amber's side and her arm, which was likely that bullet that went through her, well, was the bullet that went through her forearm into her thigh and stopped at her stomach. Because that's the only bullet that didn't remain in her body. The other one went into her head and stopped at her neck. Justin had 2 gunshot wounds, both of which the projectile was still in his body and was recovered by the ME's office. The only other projectile was the one that went in his side, out his stomach, and hit the floorboard right next to Jacob's little fire truck that he was driving around the house on. He picked it up and he moved it. He played with it. Why? Because it's shiny and it's new, and he's never seen this thing in his house. He was literally playing with the bullet that killed his parents. And carrying glass around the house, because you have a massive shard of glass right next to this projectile, a shard that could have not possibly stayed on the defendant's clothes when he broke through the window, but that Jacob would have picked up and played with. Because once again, in a child's eyes, these are new items in the home that any child wants to explore. He didn't have any way to feed himself. He didn't have any water. He had an extremely soiled and sagging diaper that you can see on all the body cameras. And again, the most traumatic of all of this is that there's hours of trying but failing to get the love and attention of his parents. Now, we have no way of knowing what time he may have gone downstairs. We don't know if he woke up after hearing those gunshots and came down the stairs and then cuddled up to sleep on the couch with his parents, or whether he didn't come down until the next morning. But what we do know is the very latest possible time that he was awake and downstairs was 6:16 a.m. We know that because Justin's phone activity sensor log has been presented as evidence. And we know that the timestamps on that are accurate because if you recall, at 7:07 p.m., there's logged activity from Justin's device, and we see him physically getting out of the vehicle at his residence for the last time. We also know because if you look further back in that data that's been tendered as evidence, you see that Justin was extremely active throughout the day. And you heard from Tim Hicks that he was at home on baby duty that day. It was his day off. Thank God he spent his last day with his baby at home. But we know at 6:16 a.m., Jacob is now touching that phone and carrying it around the house. And I highly doubt that when he came downstairs, the first thing he did was take the phone. This was probably after he had been trying to get his parents' attention and family. We also know that Jacob took that phone and moved it around the house because ultimately where it was found was on that baby gate, which had been knocked over by the defendant, happened to be right next to his toy ambulance that Jacob also placed there. He even pulled the glasses off his mom and dad's faces not understanding why they would not respond. Amber's glasses would not have fallen off her face like this, getting shot in the head. It just wouldn't have happened. And we know she was awake because at 9:59, she's loving comments in her girl's text thread. So it's not like she had fallen asleep and somehow they fell off her face. Jacob climbed on his mom and literally took the glasses off of her face to get her attention. 2-year-old children only care about their parents' attention. It's the only thing in the world that really matters to them. And he was so desperate for attention that he climbed on her lap and is touching her face, desperate for her to open her eyes because of what that defendant did. And then when law enforcement comes in the house, there's Jacob, and he now has his daddy's glasses. And you heard from Tim Hicks that he wore glasses when he watched TV at night. And Jacob has pulled the glasses off his daddy's face too. Even the defendant expressed remorse for this. He didn't care about the fact that Justin and Amber were killed. But when it came to Jacob, and when it came to him believing Amber was pregnant as well, he cared. He cared then, and he recognized that that was messed up. He recognized that that's as cruel gets. And that's the only thing he felt bad about. He himself knows that he is guilty of cruelty to children in the second degree. Finally, tampering with evidence, the state must prove that the defendant, with the intent to prevent the apprehension of himself or obstruct the prosecution of himself, he knowingly conceals physical evidence. Count 13 reads as follows: did knowingly conceal physical evidence, to which shell casings, said evidence involving the prosecution of the offenses of murder, home invasion, and aggravated assault, with intent to prevent the apprehension of and obstruct the prosecution of said accused, to which said accused did remove shell casings from the murder scene so as to avoid apprehension and otherwise obstruct the prosecution of himself. These officers tore this house apart. I mean, they tore this house apart. They looked in every single nook and cranny. They moved furniture. They moved the rug. They did everything to locate those casings, and they did. There were 3 casings found, and that was it. Now, why he didn't take the time to get the other ones, maybe he got spooked. Maybe the dog started barking at him. Maybe Jacob came downstairs. We don't know. But he decided he needed to get out of there. So he only took the 2. But he is guilty of tampering with evidence. We don't have to prove what he did with those items. We don't have to prove if he threw them out the window or whatever he did with them. So taking a pause here, are the crimes themselves really in dispute? They're not. They're not. I mean, the crimes occurred. We all agree the crimes occurred. Even the defendant agrees the crimes occurred. He said somebody murdered them, obviously. And they're like, okay, well, you murdered him, Mr. Lanz. He goes, I don't know what you want me to say. Whether or not he wants to admit he did it, he recognizes that somebody committed all of these crimes. And so the only real issue is, did this defendant do it? We know the crimes occurred. Did this defendant do it? We told you at the beginning, Your Honor, that there were 3 main pieces of evidence we wanted you to consider. That was the digital evidence, the statements, and the forensic evidence. Now, one thing we do not want you to consider regarding his guilt or innocence of these charges is his brother's past behavior, his own past behavior, or his subsequent behavior. And I want to explain that. Your Honor knows better than anyone that you are here to consider the evidence concerning these crimes in this bill of indictment and not past acts or subsequent acts. The only reason that those instances were even mentioned during this trial is because they were inextricably intertwined with this case itself. The only reason we ended up being able to really solve this case when we solved it is because of Sandy Springs. Because when Sandy Springs conducted their investigation and they realized his parents lived right next to the Hicks's residence where there was an open double homicide investigation taking place, they reached out to Cobb County. You heard during the interviews, everything is inextricably intertwined such that you can't even separate the two. The only reason that his brothers mentioned is really through the defendant himself. And talking about his brother and talking about the fact that he still thinks that those residents at 5059 were in some way terrorizing him or something along those lines. But we want to make it clear that in no way, shape, or form are we trying to argue propensity or bad character or anything else, because the reality is there is no propensity here. We are not saying there is any form of propensity here at all. These crimes should be considered as an isolated act that happens to be incredibly evil, with the only possible explanation that this defendant provided is those homeowners used to terrorize my brother and there were some demonic lights, which came from this defendant as really the only possible motive, as though he's seeking revenge, although he won't say those words himself. So looking at that timeline, again, we know that it's basically just a 10-minute timeline. We know when Justin, Amber, and Jacob arrived home. We know when the rear floodlights were triggered at 9:55. 4 minutes later, Amber sends her last text ever. The rear floodlights are triggered again, and then the delivery is made. Again, this is the last time. Look at Jacob running in the house, so happy to be home with his mommy and daddy. You have the last two text messages, and this is in UTC, the adjusted time, I believe, is on the exhibit there. And then you have the delivery that's made a few minutes later at 10:17 p.m. That's the typo there. But at 10:17 p.m., which we see that notification come through on Justin's watch, which was plugged in his bedside because it was nighttime and they were watching TV. And then that package that was never obtained. So we know that whoever triggered the floodlights at 9:55 and 10:10 committed these murders. We know that because there's no way someone broke in after 10:10 and did not trigger those floodlights. There's no way that when text conversation continues with Amber's friends and she's just not responding, there's no activity. Justin's phone never moves again until 6:16 a.m. We know that whoever triggered those floodlights at 9:55 and 10:10 committed these murders. The defendant's vehicle was on scene during the precise window of the murder. How do we know? Because we see his vehicle drive down Verbena. We see that his vehicle is the only one that doesn't actually continue past 50-50 Verbena, and instead you see some reflection from where his residence is. We have the headlight signature, which is abundantly clear, particularly in the fleeing the scene immediately after these murders. Watch it again and look at that headlight signature. We have the defendant's firearm. This firearm sitting in front of Your Honor, which was purchased by the defendant, absolutely, positively executed Justin and Amber. We know that. The test-fired projectiles from the ATF matched the projectiles recovered on scene, or I'm sorry, not the projectiles, the casings. The test-fired casings matched the casings recovered on scene. All right, defendant Lanz purchased this firearm 1 month prior. Okay, he had this gun in his possession 1 month prior on October 13th of 2021. And we know it was Matthew Lanz himself who purchased this firearm because they took a copy of his ID. And we have the receipt. He spent almost $2,000 cash buying this gun that he would then execute 2 innocent people with. All of which was unknown to his parents and against their wishes. You heard Scott Lanz, he did not like guns. Not at all. And when they talked about, well, why did you take that gun from him in Athens? Why were you so concerned? He said to police, he was going to shoot himself or someone else. That was this defendant's father's concern. His own father admitted that that was a concern, which is why he took the gun from his son on November 18th of 2021. The magazine that held the bullets that pierced Justin and Amber's body was found in the defendant's possession, in which the defendant admitted these were his. One of those, which again is sitting before your honor, was missing the precise number of bullets used to carry out these executions. A capacity of 17 bullets in each of these magazines. One of them only had 12, which is the exact number used to kill Justin and Amber. And again, Teresa Lanz admitted that when she first arrived in Athens, that magazine was in the gun. Now, she didn't specify how many bullets were in each magazine, but she specified that one magazine was in the gun and one was lying next to it. The defendant has the exact same type of ammunition that was used to kill Justin and Amber in his possession. And that same type of ammunition was found in the magazines. And you had additional ammunition found in the gun box. The gun box that he had shoved into some bag and then shoved into some storage box. But he also had in his possession. The defendant's DNA was found on the murder weapon. We know this, and that's not a surprise. And Scott Lanz said, yes, my son had that gun. Teresa Lanz said, yes, my son had that gun. They took it from his possession. So it's really not shocking that his DNA is on it. He bought it. We know he possessed it. But he also used it to kill Justin and Amber. Look at his clothing. He had glass in his shoes that were collected from Sandy Springs. And again, why is this Sandy Springs thing important when it comes to the clothing? Well, number one, he had just numerous layers of clothing on. And you have those photographed, pants upon pants upon pants, shirt upon shirt upon shirt, multiple layers. He was never going to cut himself, even if he hit even if he threw himself through that window, he would have never cut himself. Not with the amount of clothing that we know he was wearing 32 hours later. But also important about Sandy Springs is he didn't break glass in that home. There is no broken glass, which makes this shard of glass so important. Had he broken some sort of window or door or lamp or whatever in the home, this would not have been as significant. But there's no glass in Sandy Springs. There's no explanation for why he would have glass shards in his shoes. Another reason that clothing is so important when it comes to Sandy Springs is this lack of GSR evidence. It would have made no difference. Testing his clothes, his hair, his hands, anything would have made no difference because we know he was shot. If he had GSR on his person, on his clothes, on anything, at the point in time that Cobb County learned of him, it would have had zero significance because he had been shot, which is why it was so important to explain that and explain the sequence of events, to explain this investigation and the findings here. The defendant's cell phone, again, he puts his cell phone into airplane mode as he drove back to Athens. Why? Why do that? Well, the only explanation is because he told his dad, hey dad, I'm coming home. I'm at a gas station. It's 7:57 p.m. and then not showing up. Instead, deciding to execute a mother and father on the couch and then going, I should probably take some steps to cover up. Not only should I take at least the casings I should find, but I should put my phone in airplane mode so they can't get any data off of the defendant's statements, he admitted he was on scene that night. That is so, so important. He put himself there. Now, interestingly enough, his timeline that he provides, which is quite precise, is exactly 1 hour off. It's exactly 1 hour off. He says, I got there at 10:30 p.m. and I left at 11:15. Well, no, he got there at 9:20 and left by 10:10. Now, this is November 21st, November 17th of 2021. Not long after daylight savings. So I don't know, maybe he hasn't changed his clocks in his car. I don't know. Or maybe he was just being very precise in his timings, but didn't want to give up the fact that he knew exactly when he killed them and needed to adjust his timeline a little bit so it didn't seem like he committed the crime. But either way, it's just so interesting that not only does he put himself there on scene, it's around the right time. And it's for the right amount of time. Because he's ultimately there for 50 minutes. He puts himself there for 45 minutes. Same thing. Now, in his story to police, he says, well, I got so tired when I arrived at my parents' house that I have a key to that I'm just going to drive 2 hours back. I'll take a cat nap in my car for 10 to 15 minutes. Then I'll smoke a cigarette, and then I'm just gonna drive back because I'm exhausted. I mean, that makes no sense. None whatsoever. He then admitted that there was some sort of bad vibe, which is what caused him to drive all the way back to Athens, never telling his parents he was home, never trying to get in the home, never stepping foot inside his home, and then not wanting to tell his parents he had been there either. I mean, keep in mind, the parents go there immediately and they're like, what have you done? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I ain't telling you, I'm here. I'm in Athens, right? But then he tells law enforcement, oh no, I was home for 45 minutes, but I just never went inside. Why lie? When asked, well, if the neighbors were killed, why would they have been killed? He said it probably had something to do with the demonic lights. You heard that interview. You heard the Sandy Springs portion and the Cobb County portion, because Sandy Springs had already started that conversation. And throughout all of that, he keeps talking about these lights, the flickering lights, the demonic lights. He's fixated on it. And he talks about it over and over. That's the only thing he'll really say as it relates to the Hicks's residence, is the lights. Again, the defendant's parents traveled separately an hour and 45 minutes after hearing of Justin and Amber's death. I mean, this was immediate action on the part of his parents, specifically because they wanted to confront him about whether he committed these murders. Scott Lanz said on scene when they went to the Lanz's residence at 600 Delphinium, and they're talking to Scott Lanz outside, right? He tells law enforcement, Teresa called me about what happened here. The first freaking thing for some reason that came to my mind, and then he trails off. You can't understand the rest of that statement. But you can fill in the blank. Teresa called me about what had happened, and the first freaking thing that came to my mind. That's what this defendant's own father said. And in that same body camera footage, his father says, we tried to have a chat with him, point blank level with us to say, was he involved or was he not? He was very, very, very sketchy. He wouldn't answer. He said, Dad, I didn't murder anybody, but I was not convinced. There was suspicion. His own father did not believe him. During his interview, during Scott Lanz's formal interview with law enforcement, He says if the bullet matches, he's done. Well, the cartridge casings did match. They matched the firearm that Scott Lanz took from him on November 18th of 2021. His parents want to believe that he's sick or mentally ill. You heard his mother say that repeatedly during their interview. Wanting to believe he's insane, and that's reasonable. That is completely reasonable because it is unfathomable to a parent to accept that their child could be so evil. That is unfathomable. But at the end of the day, they still knew what he was capable of and what he did. And Your Honor saw his Google search history. One day before these murders, he is Googling facts about blood and the 10 Commandments. He knows the 10 Commandments. When Detective Jackson asked him about the 9th commandment, he knows. He had been Googling it not 24 hours before. And on October 29th of 2021, he's Googling, do heads really explode as portrayed in Pulp Fiction? Does 308 explode a human head? And then on October 12th of 2021, he is Googling death statistics, total number of fatalities in the United States 2018, mortality in the United States 2019, fast facts from CDC, death and mortality. This was just one day before he bought this gun. One day, and actually it was after he had filled out the 4473. But one day before he became in possession of this firearm that he used to execute a mother and father. So how do we know that this defendant committed all of these crimes beyond a reasonable doubt? It's his vehicle, it's his gun, it's his magazine, it's his ammunition, it's his DNA, it's the demonic lights he keeps talking about. His parents assumed he did it right off the bat. The Freudian slip about the North Face, when they're like, you're probably wearing that same jacket you had on in Sandy Springs because there's some light colored top in the surveillance footage. He goes, oh, no, that's my other North Face. A Freudian slip. He admits being on scene. And then during the transport, he says, I still feel terrible about knowing there was a baby in that woman's body. He's like, is that true? Did she really have a baby in her body? Jacob and this unborn child that law enforcement thought existed at the time was the only thing this defendant cared about. The evidence here is overwhelming. Your Honor, the only demonic thing that night was Matthew Scott Lanz. This defendant acted as only a demon would, breaking into a stranger's home to execute them and leave for no reason. We've spent this week talking about the defendant, talking about his actions, his gun, his ammunition, his DNA, his statements, all of this evidence that proves his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. But I don't want to lose sight of why we are here. And looking at this case from the eyes of Justin and Amber and Jacob. Victims who should be with us today. Victims who should have been able to come to court and tell this court what happened. To tell this court what they experienced and what they felt. But they don't get that opportunity. They don't get that opportunity because this defendant callously and maliciously and cowardly took their lives, but luckily left behind a home that told a story of exactly what Justin and Amber experienced. September 5th, 2021, just one day after Jacob had turned 2, Amber, Justin, and Jacob moved into Amber's dream home. A home that she believed would be their forever home, that they could continue growing their family in. And they were happy, and life was good. And what made this home a home to Justin and Amber was three things: safety, security, and love. After all, that is what makes a home and not just a house. Safety, security, and love. And it's why our legislature includes so many protections when you're inside your own home. It is why the phrase sanctity of your own home exists. Because homes are meant to be a sacred place. Amber and Justin had this sign in their dining room: "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." A declaration that their home, made up of Amber, Justin, Jacob, and their pets, their dog and their cat, would follow God. Their home was their domestic place of worship, where they would raise their child and nurture him in faith and love and devotion. These are all the efforts they made to protect their home, to protect their place of their sacred place, their domestic church, putting up all these different surveillance cameras and censored floodlights. And it's a shame that they had only been there for 73 days, so they didn't have a chance to start their subscriptions to save all this video footage. But the sad part of all of that is it wouldn't have changed anything. It would have shown that man's face on them. But that's it. That's it, because they wouldn't have had time to act, because he so quickly broke through that window and executed them. But these are all the measures they took to protect their home. And they did everything to protect their child. Baby gate upon baby gate upon baby gate. A monitor, baby locks on every single door. Because they wanted to create a safe place for Jacob to grow and learn and explore. And what safer place exists in this world than one's own home? Those were all of the efforts they took to protect their baby. And they loved inside that home. They loved, and they loved hard. You see it all over that house. You see Bibles. You see in Justin's chair, he had a cushion that was pictures of him and Amber so happy, and a verse out of Corinthians. You see this love letter that Amber wrote Justin the day before on 11/16 of 2021. I want you to know that you are brilliant. I'm so sorry that this did not work out the way you wanted. I'm confident you will do great next time. Please don't be down on yourself. These things happen. I'm so proud of you. You have to do this for you, not for me, not for Jacob, for you. Remember all the studying, all the quizzes you've had to take. You know this stuff, and you can do this. Find the confidence. There's no reason to be worried or nervous. I have a video for you to watch. Today is cuddle day. Love you so much, wifey. And you look in little Jacob's bookshelf there, and all the books that were in there that you can see based on how they're placed. Oh, the places you'll go, wherever you are, my love will follow. God bless you and good night. These are the books that you can identify from this picture. And I'm sure many of the other ones talk about love and support and raising him in this Christian home filled with love and faith. This was an incredible and perfect family doing everything they could to protect their child, and yet they failed. They failed. And at no fault of their own. As they laid here on this couch for cuddle day, in their dream home, all of their doors locked and secured, the baby monitor on, it wasn't enough. It was not enough. It was not enough to prevent evil that came through that window. Absolutely terrified. Likely frozen in fear, certainly for Amber. Thinking of their sleeping baby who was upstairs and they could do nothing to protect him. Everything they did inside that home was to protect Jacob, and there was nothing they could do. They were unable to go upstairs. They were unable to hug him, grab him, say, I love you one last time, shield him from seeing what evil looks like at the age of 2 years old. Nothing. They literally did not stand a chance. And we know, based on Amber's positioning, she died absolutely terrified, which is the worst feeling in the world, particularly when it's in your own home. As she curled up and shut her eyes and looked the other way. And we know that Justin was probably afraid too, and he was thinking of his baby too, but he was the man of the household who was going to get up and see what was going on, but he didn't even have an opportunity to get past the rug because of that man. This is what he left in the home. As though things could not have been worse as is right here where it stops, little Jacob came down the stairs to find his parents. And he found them. And he tried to do what they wish they could have done the night prior. Hug him, love him, lay with him. He got to hug his parents and lay on them and talk to them, but with no response. He tried and he tried and he tried, and he even pulled their glasses off of their faces. The most beautiful faces in the world to him, with absolutely no response. Not his mother's warm, loving body, but a cold, stiff body covered in blood. This was one of the books that you see on his bookshelf. And I don't know if it makes it better or worse to think that this may have been one of the last books that his mom read to him. If someday you're lonely or someday you're sad, just lift up your face, feel the wind in your hair. That's me, my sweet baby. My love is right there. My love will find you wherever you are. It is beyond evil and cruel. So was it even brutal, Mr. Lanz? Was it even brutal? That's what he asked law enforcement. Was it even brutal? Yes, Mr. Lanz, it was as brutal gets. And if you weren't sure that night, you are now. Because you've seen it in the daylight, in an excruciating detail, the damage that you caused. And this little boy, now 6 years old, left without a mom and dad. His last memories, if he even has them, is when he was 2 years old. So he's left with pictures. Pictures, many of which are in the home in which his mommy and his daddy was brutally murdered because of this defendant's choices. Choices that he sat and pondered over for 40 minutes. Your Honor, this case is clear. This defendant is guilty of every single count in this indictment. this defendant really doesn't feel bad for what he did. He doesn't. And he knows what he did. He knows exactly what he did. Which is why he feels like none of this is really necessary. But we are asking Your Honor to reach a just verdict and a just decision, which is exactly what the defense is asking for as well. But the only just and true decision in this case is that this defendant committed all of these crimes beyond a reasonable doubt. And we ask that you make those findings.
Before I step off for deliberations, I do want to have the state defense review the evidence that is available to go back with the court for review. If you all would approach me just for a moment.
Okay. So it is called deliberating. It looks like she's
Okay.
in pants, actually, that other lady. So maybe her big power move is the pantsuit.
Yeah, with that awful color.
Oh,
Yeah, they held it together for a while, and
Yeah, it got a lot.
right.
that was fun.
Even as,
Family.
yeah,
Those got to be her sisters.
I think that one with the nose studies I'm on.
I think so too.
That's her dad.
Yeah.
You do? I didn't think she was old enough.
Listen, not everybody, you know. And that guy in the back with the dark hair and the facial hair, that's his brother.
The
Way in the back on the left?
this
Yeah,
man.
yeah, I think that's his brother.
Wow.
What makes you think it?
I haven't seen his father back in there.
Mm-mm. I think I saw him the same day his father took the stand,
Right.
Okay.
and he was sitting in that vicinity, so I assumed that was his brother.
So is she in deliberation right now, or is she talking to lawyers?
She's talking to the attorneys about the evidence.
Gotcha.
That isn't
Oh,
as bad
that's
as I
nice
thought.
of her. She went and got some more tissues for them.
Mm-hmm.
Good for her.
You think that's overspill behind him and not court support?
No, there's no court support.
I mean, support for
Like
him, the defendant.
No. I don't think he has anybody here.
That's what I mean. It's an overspill from the other side.
I mean,
Wouldn't
there's
he
no
support?
like your side or their side. There's no like bride or groom side. There's no like if you sit here, you're supporting him or anything.
I mean, like, if
so
they were,
overspill is a silly way to say it.
if his family was sitting right behind, they would be right behind him.
Probably
That's
that.
just
I like
usually.
behind him.
I know it's not like bride groom side, but usually it's defendant state side.
We're gonna play some shit for when the judge deliberates. So let's eat ourselves from YouTube. Bye,
Okay.
YouTube.
Bye, tubes.
You on Rumble? The link is in the
See you later.
description.